and they were operating, or he was operating, in the Muslim Ottoman Empire, and was given the choice of being seriously sorted out, shall we say, or converting to Islam. So he and many of his followers, he had a massive, massive following in terms of numbers ratio to the population of the time. And there was a mass conversion of him and many of his followers to Islam, but it was only on the surface conversion. They continued to operate their Sabbatean cult behind the scenes. And I emphasize Sabbatean, which for reasons I'll come to shortly became Sabbatean Frankism, that it's a cult. And so it's nothing to do with the rank and file Jewish population. But what they do is tag exposure of that cult, which actually hates Jewish people, by the way, has contempt for them, with saying all Jewish people are involved in what they're doing, which is the last thing I'm saying. They're not. That's why I say in the trigger a number of times, no one needs to know about this cult, the Sabbatean Frankist cult, more than Jewish people, because it's shafting them. And by the way, the sources for this are overwhelmingly Jewish sources, Jewish rabbis, Jewish writers, Jewish researchers, who've realized that this cult, this Sabbatean Frankist cult, has hijacked the Jewish community and runs Israel. It runs Mossad. It runs the Israeli Defense Forces. So this is the level, and to what people like Epstein and Maxwell are answering and are serving. Not the Israeli rank and file. It's this cult that runs Israel that it's answering to. So what the Sabbateans did and specialized in was infiltration. It was posing as members of another religion or another community or another, whatever group, and taking that group over in terms of control while appearing outwardly to be advocates of that group, but actually they're serving the cult. And in the next century, the 18th century, along came a guy called Jacob Frank, who has been described by some Jewish historians as one of the most evil people in Jewish history. But again, and he was very, very close to the Rothschilds. In fact, the Bavarian Illuminati that was created in 1776 officially, and fronted up by a guy called Adam Weishaupt, was created by Mayer Amschel Rothschild, the founder of the Rothschild dynasty, and Jacob Frank. The Rothschilds are Sabbatean Frankists. They pose as Jewish, but they're Sabbatean Frankists, and that's what, of course, the Frankist bit comes from Jacob Frank. So Jacob Frank then took this into new depths of evil, when evil for me is just the absence of love, and started infiltrating many and various areas of human society, not least the Roman Church. It took over the Vatican, and they fronted up as, pious Roman Church leaders, when actually they were Sabbatean Frankists. And so it went on, and eventually they were the force through the Rothschilds that created Israel. And I have a chapter in the Trigger called Atlantic Crossing, where I show how the Sabbatean Frankists moved in on America and have continued to expand that through a vast web of what appears to be Zionist and ultra-Zionist organizations in America. And they are destroying freedom of speech in terms of criticism of Israel, which actually, if you go below the surface, is criticism of Sabbatean Frankism, because Sabbatean Frankism runs Israel. And the vast majority of the Israeli population don't know that. That's why I'm trying to get it across. Some people do. I mean, I get interviewed by alternative programs in Israel about this very thing because they've realized it's happening. And so that you have a situation now where criticism of Israel on American campuses is being shut down. And it's being shut down. It's been shut down by the Sabbatean Frankists because it's not criticism of Israel they're really concerned about. It's the possibility that this whole web will be uncovered. I'm talking